Welcome to the Success Partner Podcast. I'm Daya Naef, your host and founder of The Success Partner. On this show, we dive into the stories of attorneys, business professionals, and entrepreneurs who have navigated the ups and downs of building successful careers and businesses. From the strategies they've implemented to the challenges they've overcome, we're here to uncover the insights that can help you on your own journey to success. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Welcome back, everybody, to the Success Partner Podcast. I am your host, Daya Naef, and today we have our guest as Krista Robertson. And Krista is going to tell us some very interesting things about estates and digital wealth transfer. We were just talking about that offline as we were getting ready for the call. And I just want to know Krista's story, why she does what she does, and take it away, Krista.
All right, great. I'm Krista Robertson. I'm an estate and trust attorney with Chisholm Law Group, and our office is primarily in Bethesda, Maryland, but we work all over the DC metro area. One of the things that I focus on particularly is estate and trust administration. My background is working with DC probate court, so I got a good sense of how things work on the other side. After a person's passed away, where does their stuff go? How do we move it? How do we move it between the beneficiaries, tax authorities, the state authorities, wherever it needs to go? And that's just sort of been the thing that I focus on primarily, even though because of that experience, I also work with clients with the planning part because I know what's going to happen if we don't do the planning right. So we do sort of use our it's a wraparound service that we can provide, understanding from both sides of it. If we don't do it right here, something could go wrong there.
Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions in estate and what we think is going to happen to our assets and liabilities, even sometimes after the fact.
Yes. One of the things that we do try to remind people of is your estate planning really makes sure that your things, to the best of your person's ability, whoever's in charge of administering your estate or your trust, we want to make sure that those things go where you intend them to go. And that requires actually knowing what it is that we're starting with. Frequently, our clients want to because they have built up their wealth, they've built up their expertise, they've built up their assets, and a lot of our clients are fairly private people. They're still not comfortable telling us everything they have. And that is challenging because we need to know what are we looking at in terms of planning, because we need to know what we're looking at in terms of an administration. And the more secretive a person is with their estate planning attorney, the more likely something's going to get lost in the shuffle after they pass away. Their children won't know where all the assets are. Their spouse won't know what assets weren't necessarily his, hers, theirs to manage, and things get lost.
Yeah.
Specifically with digital assets. We had one estate administration that we worked on a couple of years ago where our decedent he basically had a whole bunch of his assets tucked away in a digital wallet, but nobody could find the wallet. So whatever he had in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, poof, gone, just disappeared. And because he hadn't considered planning for that, we didn't have any estate planning documents. The personal representative, did her best to dig around and try to find those assets. But because of the way that a lot of our digital assets are set up, it's very difficult to collect those things on the back end unless someone has given thought to, here's the person who needs to know if I'm not here. Here's how you know that's the right person to know. And also for the person who needs to know about it, here's how you get in touch with this crypto wallet bank, this, or even, this is my Facebook account. I built up my business using Facebook. Here's how you access those things. All of those things get sort of lost in the shuffle when we're doing like the big stuff. Where do the bank accounts go? What happens to the house? But these other assets, it's really important for somebody to know, what do you have? Who has the right to talk to them about it? And how do we get to it?
Yeah, I've always wondered, how people know, if you're a family and you have your family attorney and with that attorney when they retire too, where your documents are going, or if you even have documents. I've never understood how all that is tracked down.
So one of the things that we do, and a lot of other attorneys who do the estate planning do, is we will provide a copy of the documents with a copy of our card and contact information. And no matter where our firm goes, so like my firm has changed names a couple of times since I've been here, and our email address has changed, but my first email address has followed me through. Despite the name changes and the email changes, we still have those old emails still coming to us, just in case somebody still has my old card with their documents. We also kind of make it a point of, these are the other attorneys we work with, so just in case you can't find me, you can find them. Because we hold the original documents in a fire safe so that they're secure, because a lot of courts don't actually hold on to your documents before you pass, and you don't necessarily want them to either. New York will hold your will. You can give the state of New York your will to hold on to, just to keep it safe somewhere. Maryland will also hold on to your will. Other jurisdictions will. DC doesn't, and that's one of the states we practice in. Virginia doesn't. And so if you don't know where the will is, you can check. Did my person live in a place where they might actually hold the will? And that's a place that you can check. Most people don't even think about it that far. So the will is, sitting in a pile of documents somewhere, in a filing cabinet somewhere, because they wanted to take it with them, because they wanted to have it. And then when, the family members are trying to go through the documents, sometimes they get thrown away by accident because they weren't kept someplace secure. So one of the things that we try to do is just remind our clients, our documents are we're holding on to your documents. Let your people know they're here. You've got our card, you've got all of the correspondence. Keep these things together so they can find them later. And we also, just to make sure that we still know where people are, we send an annual card. Hi, we love working with you. We're still here, whatever fashion, just as a reminder, so that, if documents need to be revised, or they want to pull their documents, or what have you, or if they've moved and we didn't get that change of address, we can update our documents and make sure that we know how to reach them, just in case we need to turn documents over or find somebody later.
Yeah. So there's a reason not to dissolve the post office, because they do send you the things back with the new address.
Absolutely. And so a lot of times what happens when somebody passes away is somebody vaguely remembers mom worked with this attorney, or they find documents in a file or a folder somewhere that identifies the firm that they worked with. And that's one of the ways that we start tracking it down. The other way is you find an attorney you like, you take what you do know you have, and then the attorneys will put it out there in a listserv. Hey, did anybody prepare a will for Joe Brown or Gladys Knight or whomever, whatever person, and we get these emails once a week at least. Does anybody know who wrote this person's will? And they might give us some rough information about where or when they think it might be. I have tracked wills down that way.
Yeah, I see it in the bar journal. I laugh because it's looking for so-and-so. And I'm okay, you either need to serve them or you're looking for their heir.
Yes. One of the things that we're seeing now, so my practice area is really interesting because many practice areas are still building and growing. They're pulling up young attorneys because it's a hot, sexy thing. Everybody wants to do corporate because it pays well, usually. People get really excited about going to be a public defender or working for the government as an attorney, because those are good jobs that have a lot of moral valence to them. People want to go work in entertainment, and they want to do some of the more interesting things that are out there that have sort of the cachet of, you can find all sorts of TV shows about how awesome this job is, or I get to work with these people who sound really interesting. My practice area, you have to understand some tax. You have to be comfortable talking to people who are sad. You have to be comfortable talking to people about the what ifs when they die. And that takes a very special kind of person to be able to have those conversations. And so we just have fewer people coming up the pipeline behind us. There just aren't that many of us. And of all of the people who came before us, they're retiring. And so, many of the older attorneys have vaults of wills and trusts and, documents they've prepared for their clients over the years. And now they're looking for places to put them. Are they sending them back to their clients who may have dementia and can't take them? Are they finding an attorney who will buy the vault, basically, so that at least somebody still has them? Mm-hmm. When they can, sometimes they're also pushing them out to those states that will hold on to the will when they don't know where the person is, but they still have this document, and they don't even know if it's the final document, but we can't keep them forever, especially if we're retiring. So we're in this sort of really interesting place where people are thinking about, just in terms of succession planning as an estate planner, where do my things go? They no longer do them. It's really interesting to kind of see how these things fold back on themselves, because a lot of people in my field are solo practitioners. They work in small firms. They might be the only person in their firm who does the estate planning. And if we're holding on to those documents for our clients, well, what happens to them when we don't want to do the work anymore, can't do the work anymore? Where do those documents go? Can we find our clients years and years and years later? Because our clients don't always tell us, well, I've created a new will and that one's actually, now technically trash, and so you can throw it away. They don't always tell us that.
No.
It's always a question of, well, what are we going to do with these documents? Can we find the people? Can we pass them along to somebody? How do we make sure that they are securely transferred to the next person who should be holding on to these documents?
And so we have a need. We have to figure out how to solve it.
And I think that within our practice area, the internet has made it a lot easier to find our people. So we can check, we've been holding on to these documents for 20 years. Is our client still alive? We can do a Google search. We can look for obituaries. We can see if somebody's passed away. We can look for, we have skip tracers. So just as the nature of our business, we know that we can always find somebody who can find somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, we can get there. But as a practical matter, a lot of attorneys are really having the question of who's going to hold on to these documents. If we're not going to hold on to them in a safe and secure manner, what advice do we give our clients for how to hold on to their documents in a safe and secure manner at home? And our go-to is a fire safe. Everybody should have one because that's where your birth certificate and passport and social security card should be anyway. Maybe the deed to your house and other important documents like life insurance policies, things people will need to know about later, should be kept somewhere secure and not just in a filing cabinet that could be destroyed.
Yeah. But then you have to let them know how to get into it as well.
Right. And that's another piece of it. It's like, buy a fire safe. If you get one that has a code, somebody needs to know the code besides you. If it has a key, you can keep the key on your keychain, but where's the spare? And will someone know that that's the spare key? If they find it in your jewelry box and it's just a random key, will they know that that goes to that box that's in your basement 2 floors down? So it's one thing we do say is don't put it in a safe deposit box, because after you die, nobody else can get in that safe deposit box without going to the court and getting permission to access it. And then the banks fight back because banks don't like to just let anybody in. The whole point is it's safe.
Safe.
Safe deposit boxes are great for jewelry. They're terrible for last wills and tests.
Okay. Yeah, because you need that right away. I love it. So this is a lesson in communication and family relationships.
Absolutely. I mean, we have had clients who really just did not have great relationships with their family. And so we are the last repository for those documents. And then we have to deal with, well, how do we communicate this to somebody who may not have spoken to their family member in 20 years? We were advised that this person passed away, but does the family know? And we know that because the document says, my son is the next person, can we find the son? Do we know anybody who knows that somebody to get there? Frequently, the family comes to us, but on rare occasion, we are the ones who have to communicate with the next of kin to pass those documents along. So we have to turn them over to whoever needs them once it's been identified that a person's passed away and those documents are now going to potentially be in effect.
Well, Krista, it's so good to have this conversation with you. It is a very needed conversation. Anybody listening today would like to talk to Krista, how do we get a hold of you?
All right. I can be reached by email. It's my first initial last name at CLG for Chisholm Law Group, LLC.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm one of many Krista Robertsons, but my face stands out a little bit. But also my firm has identified Chisholm Law Group as part of my bio. So I'm easy to find there. And we also can be reached by phone here Monday through Friday. So somebody will answer the phone and we will make sure that anybody who has questions is helped, because we're helpers. That's what we do.
I love it. Okay, those of you listening, all those contacts will be in the show notes. So this is
Thank you for joining us on the Success Partner Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation and found some valuable takeaways to apply to your own business journey. Remember, this show is brought to you by The Success Partner, where we help small law firms and business owners achieve unparalleled success through strategic guidance, operational excellence, and effective marketing. If you're ready to take your business to the next level, visit thesuccesspartner.net to learn more. Until next time, keep striving for success, and I will see you in the next episode.